need to address the big fucking elephant in the room when it comes to fat loss. Now, getting in shape and dropping body fat is extremely hard to do, especially when you're looking at dropping 10, 15, or 20 plus kilos of body fat, which ultimately is going to take time. It will not be a quick fix. Now, I always say that fat loss is simple, but that doesn't make it easy. And the process in which it takes for you to drop body fat, i.e. energy in versus energy out, or calorie deficit, is in theory simple. Eat less food, move more, or eat less calories, move more, and in theory, consistently over time, you should lose weight. But the practicalities of actually building in a nutrition plan, building in a workout plan, actively moving for, and building that in and around your lifestyle is ultimately very difficult, especially when we're looking at work, family, travel, holidays, socials. All of those things combined is what makes fat loss so difficult. Now, the first thing that you probably go to when it comes to getting in shape into the new year is exercise. Moving more, going out and hitting step goals, maybe signing up to the gym, signing up to classes, going out for a run, doing HIIT workouts, home workouts, whatever you can do to burn calories. And what you've probably found in previous years and even within the early portion of 2026 is that it's not working. You're not really seeing any changes. You've not seen changes in the past. The scale weight isn't going down, and ultimately you're not dropping any body fat. And that's simply because you keep ignoring the big fucking elephant in the room. And it's the number one thing that I have to address with clients as the top priority as to where they should be placing their focus when it comes to dropping body fat and getting in shape. And that big fucking elephant is your nutrition. Now, until you address your nutrition, you're going to see slow or ultimately no progress whatsoever. Now, we can break this down into multiple different categories, but I'm just going to highlight the things that you need to focus on the most if you're going to bring your nutrition up to the same level of standard as to what you've currently got with your steps, exercise, and workouts. You need to have a solid framework which maps out what meals you're having and when you're having them. What are you going to be eating for your first meal of the day? What are you going to be eating for the last meal of the day? What are you going to be eating for lunch? And are you going to be that individual who plans snacks in and around that? Or do you have the calorie allowance to plan in snacks? Or are you going to stick to 3, maybe 2, maybe even 4 meals per day? You've got to have a bespoke framework or meal plan that is meeting your standards, your calorie goals, and ultimately will fit in and around your specific lifestyle. Again, whether that's having home cooked meals in the evening with family, whether that's having lunch at work, or even picking up breakfast on the go. You have to have a plan in place. Now, that plan ultimately has to be governed by calories, because you could be making better choices, you can be eating healthier foods, but if you're still consuming at maintenance or in a surplus, you're not going to be dropping any body fat. So you need to make sure that you have your calorie deficit set and that you're building your meal plan in and around that calorie deficit. Whether that's 1,500 calories or 2,000 calories, you need to make sure you're staying within those numbers in order to move forward. And yes, ultimately, you don't have to track calories to drop body fat, but across the long term, it's probably going to be the most efficient and fastest way for you to be able to do so, because ultimately there's more accuracy and less guessing involved. Now, do you need to go into the nitty-gritty of macros? You know, how much carbs should you be consuming, how much fats should you be consuming, or how much protein you should be consuming? Ultimately, no. However, once again, it does make sense to be pushing for more protein, so maybe even having a protein target, and that's something that I would do with my clients, is to get them to consume X amount of protein per meal, or to be hitting a protein target, or to emphasize protein in each main meal. However, when it comes to fats and carbs, I think it's an extra or unnecessary decision that you don't need to be making on a day-to-day basis. And whether you have more carbs or more fats ultimately doesn't matter too much. So initially it's going to be a framework based around calories and potentially also a protein target on top of that. So once we tie all of this together, so you have your meal plan or your meal framework, you know what meals you're going to be consuming on a day-to-day basis, you know those meals are going to be packed full of protein or more salads and veggies, and ultimately and most importantly, you're going to be staying within that calorie target. Your goal is to now be consistent. It's not about you nailing things every single day with 100% perfection, and if you don't do that, you won't get results. It's about being as consistent and as accurate as possible for as long as possible to allow you to hit your goals. To have realistic expectations in place. For example, I want to be losing roughly 1% of total body weight per week. Are you meeting those goals? And if you're not, why not? Is there areas within your day or within your weeks that you can improve? Is there areas that you can be more accurate with? Or are you accounting for everything? Are you accounting for the liquids, for the coffees, for the drinks? Are you accounting for the sauces or the dressings or the marinades? Are you accounting for the oils or the butters? The little things like that can stop or again slow down your overall progress. So again, it's about being consistent across the board. And if you're not seeing what you want to see, again, you have now data to go back on. You can look back on your meal plan. You can look back on your calories, whether you're tracking through a food diary, old school notepad and pen, or even from MyFitnessPal. At least you have something to go by and something that you can ultimately manipulate to keep you progressing and seeing that downwards trend. Now, lastly, we need to address the final thing, which is going to be your weekends and socials. So yes, it's super important that we're on point during that Monday to Friday, but we can't just finish there. The weekends are just as important. And even if you're on point 100% with your Monday to Friday, if your Saturday and Sunday are the polar opposite, whether that's going out for socials, disregarding a framework, or having takeaways at home, once again, you will balance out your deficit, bring yourself back up to maintenance, or potentially even worse, back into a surplus. So you have to look at the week as a full 7 days. Each day is as important as the next. And each day ultimately reflects or represents approximately 14% of your week. So again, as you can imagine, if you disregard that Saturday and Sunday, that's almost 30% of your week that you've written off. So you have to make sure that you're planning ahead for both socials and the weekends. Does your weekend need to look exactly like your Monday to Friday? No, it doesn't. But ultimately, do you still need to be in that calorie deficit? Yes, you do. Can you have a bit more flexibility with maybe creating more different menus or recipes at home? Yes, ultimately you potentially have more time to do that. Can you order food in? Can you go out for meals? Yes, you can. But again, you have to plan and prepare in advance to allow you to adjust your nutrition to accommodate for a little bit more calorie flexibility. But again, it's about the averages. Have you been within your calorie deficit on average throughout the week? Just because you're not in a calorie deficit today doesn't mean that you're not going to lose body fat across the week. Yes, it might reduce down the overall amount that you lose, but you can still be in that calorie deficit even if you're not in a calorie deficit for every single day of the week. But obviously in your favor, the more days you are in that deficit, the more consistent and the faster the progress is going to be for you. So as always, hopefully that was helpful, guys. Like I said, you cannot and you will not make progress until you address your nutrition. I don't care if you're running daily marathons, if you're doing morning HIIT workouts, or hitting up 20,000 plus steps per day. If you do not address your nutrition, you do not address the consistency and accuracy, you will not consistently be dropping body fat over time, especially if you've got a big goal of hitting over 10 kilos of fat loss. Hopefully you found that useful as always. And if you want more daily tips of how to get in shape and stay in shape without the extremes, go follow me over on Instagram at TA Fitness Online. And finally, make sure to hit that subscribe button.